Alors, mesdames et messieurs, permettez-moi de vous rappeler que certaines règles s'appliquent lorsque vous intervenez devant les membres du conseil d'arrondissement. Tout intervenant doit s'inscrire avant la séance de façon à avoir le droit de poser des questions limitées à 2. Lorsque vous posez votre question, vous devez obligatoirement vous adresser au maire présidant la séance et non directement aux membres du conseil. Votre question doit être claire et précise, sans préambule. Vous devez être poli et respectueux envers les membres du conseil. Si vous ne respectez pas ces règles, vous serez invité à vous retirer et à quitter la salle du conseil. La prise de photos, de vidéos ou d'enregistrements sont interdites sans l'autorisation du maire. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to remind you that certain rules apply when you address council members. Each individual is requested to register prior to the council meeting in order to have the right to ask questions, not exceeding 2. When addressing the council, you have to direct your questions solely to the mayor presiding over the meeting and not directly to any council members. Your question has to be clear and precise without preamble. If you do not respect these rules, you will be asked to retire and to leave the council chamber. Taking pictures, filming, and recording are forbidden without the mayor's authorization. Monsieur Thomas Schwab.
C'est correct comme ça, monsieur? C'est beau?
Oh,
non,
okay.
it's okay, it's okay. C'est beau, c'est beau. Ah, pour la caméra? C'est bon? Ah, je m'excuse. I think I'm ready to retire.
Okay. At the last council meeting, right after the announcement of the new Stratégie Expérience Client,
Yes.
On s'occupe de vous,
Yep.
came the announcement of the permanent closure of the CCE library.
Yeah.
In the vicinity of this outlet are 3 schools and one of the poorest neighborhoods in the entire country. The beautiful new library, 7 kilometers away, will not be easily or often used by this community, depriving them of the library. Following this news was the new commitment to mieux informer les citoyens. This was then followed by the announcement that the city would no longer place notices in Cité Nouvelle. I and many others use this to keep informed. Not everyone has internet access, especially without a library. Please help me understand how closure of the library and canceling of the notices are improvements.
Thank you very much for your question. The library is something that we had said a while back when that library had opened up as a satellite, that it was a temporary solution. The ultimate goal, of course, was that we were going to look at all the ways that we would possibly be able to keep it open. Resources being available, funds being available, and of course, not taking away from the library that we were building here. Having said that, we have the Roxboro Library that's there. That's not 7 kilometers away. That's sort of halfway between the two. That will be still open and used as a satellite library. The CCE right now, what we're looking at doing is, it's not a final decision in terms of what we're going to do there. What we are looking at possibly doing is somehow having some type of activity there, whether it be study rooms, whether it be something available for the youth to be able to go. We were talking about that earlier today, as a matter of fact, in ways of trying to keep that building somehow open that the public in that area would have access to. Other things that we're looking at is somehow making the library here, the new one, available to the folks that live in that area. I don't have the solution yet, but we're looking at ways of making it accessible to them, whether it be providing them bus passes or bus tickets to be able to get there. I'm not sure yet, but we're looking at all the opportunities in terms of what we can do. I agree with you. It is an area that is underserved, especially when it comes to the library. It is an area that has difficulty in commuting 3 kilometers, let alone 7.
Yeah.
That goes true not only for the library, but it goes to go to the grocery store, to go to the medical clinic, to go to the seniors' home, to go anywhere. So I understand what you're saying. We share that opinion with you. And we looked at all the ways that we could have somehow kept that library open on a permanent basis in its current state. We weren't able to do that because we just don't have the resources available to us. The people that are there now are loaned from the library that had closed all these months and will be returning back to the library once it opens, with a shortfall of staffing that we're going to need, that we're negotiating now with Montreal to be able to get the funding to be able to increase not only the staffing, but also the hours of operation. So we're still in that negotiating phase. So that is something that we share with you, and we're looking at all the ways possible that we can at least provide some type of service to the residents that live there that have now grown accustomed to having that library in the CCE. So that's not closed for us, sir. And respectfully, I agree with you, and we will do whatever we can to try to make something of that location. What it can be, I can't tell you right now. We're looking at that as we speak. And for the public notices, that is something that was a law that was announced, that we had no longer the obligation to be able to place the ads in the local newspapers. Cité Nouvelle, as you know, has 4 or 5 pages. That is a newspaper that isn't read as much as we would like it to be, like it was once upon a time with the North Shore News and others that have come since then, like the Chronicle was, like the West Island Gazette, like the Suburban is. And so we looked at other ways of trying to get the information out to the public. And the study that was done, we had a consultant that came in and gave us that study and said to us that the best way to reach the public was to get them through the internet and have them all register for the information that we send updates on, and that is quite effective, as a matter of fact. And it was shown to us that it was more effective than the printed press that people receive at their door, particularly a newspaper that is received in a public-sac, that oftentimes, and we saw this going to door, we see this when we go to the homes today, a lot of them are strewn all over the lawns and on the steps, and nobody even reads them. So we had to look at other ways of publicizing that information. And again, that's something that we're working with the communications department to see what else can we do. Is it something that we can produce through our seniors clubs? Is it something that we can go through the population by groups and allow them to have that information and not rely necessarily all the time on the internet? So it's a work in progress. But I hear your comment and it's noted, but the newspaper, I don't know what the cost associated to that is. It's $28,000. It's almost $30,000 that was devoted to putting it in the newspaper, which we were told isn't as effective as that. And so we're concentrating now on other means of communicating that information. And if we see there's something that we can do additionally to what we do, then by all means our communications department can look at that.
But as far as I know, I'm registered because I get the Rubrique de Maire every month. But I don't get anything about zoning changes or council meetings or anything like that.
Well, council meetings, I believe, are there.
If you look for it on the internet site, yes.
Well, that's
but I don't get a message.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, sir. And Madame Palladini is there, and she's heard you as well. And we'll make sure that if there is information that can be distributed at a moment's notice through these applications, then we'll make sure that we add that accordingly.
And one thing that I had suggested in the past is the sign on the highway is very useful. The problem is you can only stand there for 1 minute before the traffic light changes, and you get murdered if you try and read any more. There should be on the internet an equivalent which gives you the information as on those signs. That would be very helpful.
I agree with you, and as a matter of fact, a lot of the information that you see scrolling on the sign, and correct me if I'm wrong, Madame Palladini, but I was in charge of those things back in my career, and I think that each screen has a maximum of 3 seconds that it's supposed to be visible. And it's effective enough for you to see at least 1 or 2 of the messages as you're driving by. But I hear you. Sometimes when you have 7, 8, 6 messages, you can't possibly see them all at the same time, and this is why they're continuously scrolling. But that information that you see on the electronic boards is also publicized on the current events on the website. If you open up the browser, the first section of the current events is generally what is published on the electronic boards, with the exception, of course, of the associations that publicize some of their events. But the information concerning the borough, whether it be council meetings, whether it be CCU meetings, whether it be zoning changes and whatever else is publicized, that's usually, we have to go back and verify that, but that's usually on the cover page of the borough.
Okay.
But that's a good point. We're going to make sure that we look at that.
Okay, my second question, if you allow. At the October council meeting, you had assured me that, quote, very few, if any, trees would be cut at the Porte de Plaisance Park. On October the 19th, I sent you an email concerning 14 trees that had been marked. This past week, those trees were cut. My neighbors were really upset, as I was. Despite the new logo, Grandeur Nature, and the plan Canopée, you cut the trees.
Yes.
The new trees that will be planted to replace them will only mature in 40 years and will not have much effect until then, of course, unless they're blown away by climate change. Please explain how cutting these trees is improving the environment and how your administration's actions are part of the solution and not part of the problem of environmental degradation.
Thank you. The environmental aspect of planting trees is very concerning to us as well, because we plant, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Baudouin, over 300 trees. 500 this year? 500 trees. So there's always a replenishment of the canopy in the borough. And
That's 40 years from now.
No, but we've been actively planting trees for the last number of years that we've been there, and it's been somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 now to 500 trees a year. These trees, and as a matter of fact, after you sent me the email, we all went on site and verified that fact. All of the services in council, we periodically, we go in a van and we go around the borough and we visually see some of the issues that residents bring up collectively, and we discuss some of the possible solutions. And one of them was that. And we were told on site the reason that that was absolutely necessary was because of the slope of the waterfront had to be adjusted. It had to be adjusted because all those cement slabs that were there that had created those steps had to be removed. And once they were removed, it had become too steep in that area. And so they had to be cut not only to gradually build up the slope, but also to add in one of the sections the boat launch in the area, I think, where there's 3 or 4 trees that were sort of in a group that had to get cut. But the other ones along the shoreline, it's because, unfortunately, the way that the berge, what's the berge in English?
The shoreline.
The shoreline. The shoreline had to be sloped. It unfortunately had to remove those trees. But all efforts, whenever the last thing we want to do, and you can ask any of the neighbors that you may have or residents in Pierrefonds-Roxboro how difficult it is for them today to cut down trees. It's not like it used to be once before. We reluctantly ever give a permit to cut down trees because of the fact that we want to maintain the canopy in our borough, and it has to be a rare exception for us to be able to allow that. And in this case, we talked about it, we looked at every other opportunity possible, and unfortunately for those trees, they had to be cut because of where they were situated. So yes, in October, we were going to do everything we could to try to preserve them, but then finally, when the last plans came in, unfortunately, they were located in an area that they had to get cut down. And I share your disapproval with that.
Grief.
Grief is a better word. And I share the grief with you because we went on site the day after you sent me the email, and we looked at that site and said, what can we do to try to preserve them? And looking at the plans, it was impossible to keep those trees that are there.
But there were trees cut way further back.
Well, that's why I said in that area there is because that's where the boat launch will be. And
no, way further back, like
well, not
40,
where the boat
50
launch
feet.
is there now. Where the boat launch is there now, it won't be there anymore. It's going to be further west. And that's why there was a cluster of about 3 or 4 trees in that area, or 5 trees, that had to get cut there because that's where the launch was going to be. Unfortunately, they had to come down. But again, regardless of our grief, which it is concerning, we still make all efforts, sir. 500 trees don't take 40 years to grow. I can tell you that all the ones around the parks in Roxboro, I personally planted myself with my staff 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and now they're mature trees that are bordering all our parks and green spaces. So yes, there will be some time needed, but we're also doing this every year, and not only one type of tree, there's a variety of trees that we plant, and we also sell them to the residents through the Eco-Quartier and allow them to do that on their own as well on their property. So we make all efforts to plant trees, and definitely what we want to do is to preserve what we can. But in this unfortunate case, it was impossible to keep the ones that we cut down, sir.
And I agree that if somebody wants to cut down a tree, they have a permit. It's a real difficult process.
Oh my gosh.
But if you're a contractor and you want to cut 1,000 trees, that seems to be a lot easier.
Well, I don't know. I don't know where you've seen that. I mean, I haven't seen that here. So even a contractor who cuts down a tree on your behalf or on my behalf has to get a permit. They can't just cut randomly anywhere. Do they, on occasion, without the cities knowing, all cities knowing? Possibly. But the measures that we've put in place are so strict today that it is virtually impossible to cut a tree today unless it's causing structural damage to your home or
Well,
any other.
One example is Mayor Coder last year or 2 years ago cut 1,000 trees on Ile Sainte-Hélène. I don't know if he had a permit,
Well-
but he cut 1,000 trees.
They had the permit, and what I can tell you is that, and I can't speak on his behalf right now because that was the past, but I also know that in Montreal, I don't know what the number was, but there was something like 20,000 trees that were planted, if I'm not mistaken, throughout the territory. Again, I'm not justifying that. I know that there was a reason for that as well in the past, and I think they're going to continue to cut down trees there because that project isn't even finished yet. So I'm not sure where they are with that, to be honest with you, but I note what you've said.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and
Good evening,
and
Mr.
Council.
Fletcher. Nice
May
to
I
see
make
you
a
after
comment,
such a
by
long
the way,
time.
just before I talk about my own question, may I
Yes.
just comment to what Mr.
Certainly.
Schwab has just said?
Certainly.
You know, I have a report produced by the National Academy of Sciences of the United States. It's the proceedings of the National Academy of Science of the United States that is responsible for the report. And in that report, it talks about human activity and the impact that it's had in the historical period, such that now in 2018, we have reduced the vegetative cover of the entire planet Earth by 50%.
That's not surprising.
Yes. And so it means in that particular scenario, what Mr. Schwab is talking about and our solutions for this, we have 20 years left, according to the IPCC, on the question of carbon mitigation. So, I do think we need to be insisting that we find other solutions that can cut trees. But that's not my main question for being here.
I agree with you, Mr. Fletcher.
Yeah,
I agree with
I would like to bring another question, and
Yes.
it's more of a personal question,
Yes.
but it touches everyone, I think. You came, I thank you very much, by the way, 2 years ago when they were doing the streets on my street in Roxboro, and I brought to your attention the fact that the soil that was being replaced where the digging had taken place was of terrible quality. It was very rocky, and so
that's 16th, right?
that's on 16th Avenue.
That's right.
And
Near
right,
10th.
and it's since then they put the new
remember.
grass in.
Yeah.
They put the new grass in. I was told by Guy Partenet, who's one of your public workers, he's in charge, the supervisor, that the loan was guaranteed for 2 years. And 2 years is exactly the point at which my lawn collapsed.
And your neighbors as well?
I'm sorry?
And your neighbors? Or just your...
Where that strip down the side of the road has been impacted by that, generally throughout there, we can see that the lawns have collapsed. There are weeds coming back in.
Okay.
And I know there are certain neighbors, by the way, this is an attendant issue on this, a number of neighbors have absolutely perfect lawns, even at the height of the drought during midsummer. Yep. They're obviously using water, perhaps when they shouldn't, but also they're using pesticides and they're using fertilizers.
Okay.
My approach to my garden is a completely environmental one. Yep. I take note of all of the potential impacts that accrue to the wide world and to my community and to the mentality of people around me by setting an example by doing these things. So I know, first of all, there's got to be pesticides being used. I don't know whether the bylaw is applied. But more particularly now, what I've been trying to do is, I've been personally myself, I'm 78 years old, I'm strong, I'm fit, and ready for the task. This summer, I removed 3 tons of gravel, rocks, and so on from about 35% of the frontage on my house. I had 2 separate collections of these stones, which I placed out on the street, and I'm working progressively to sift my soil out and to make sure that it's fit.
So what's your question, Mr. Fletcher?
My question is to do with leaves that I collected, by the way. On Thursday, I'd put them on my property, well away from the curb, 11 bags, large bags of leaves that I was going to mulch and incorporate into the soil that I'm working on.
They were picked up.
They were picked up. Now, the question is twofold. Why would people that are picking up garbage, the Rakova people, come onto my private property to interfere with a project that I'm engaged in that will improve the quality of my soil?
They were on paper bags?
They were in plastic bags.
Okay.
But if they were to pick them up, they should have been at the curb. And the second thing is, and this is a more important question, I think, I have to ask the question, since we have an organic pickup
Yep.
every Monday, we put it out every Monday for pickup
Tuesday,
on
yeah.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
why are the garbage people picking up leaves? Because I went around to follow the garbage man and explained to him, look, you've undone my project
They're
here.
clear bags?
They weren't in clear bags, no, but people are putting out these leaves in garbage bags on the side of the street with their regular garbage.
But do they know that, respectfully, Mr. Fletcher, I hear you, if they went on your property to take these bags, doesn't make sense to me. They'd have to be either really close to the curb, and if they weren't, I find it odd that they would come on your property to take the bags.
Right.
That's number one.
But he explained to me, I went and spoke to the man
Yeah.
driving the truck. He's somebody that I've had cordial relations with in the past because they notice what I'm doing, the hard work that I'm putting in on my front lawn, and they're sympathetic to it. In fact, all my neighbors are sympathetic to my efforts.
Yeah.
But the question is now, my question is why any people that are responsible for waste pickup would be throwing leaves, good compostable leaves, into the back of a garbage truck.
In black bags?
To put them
In
into
black bags?
black bags, whatever,
Cup closed?
closed.
Well then, Mr. Fletcher, I mean, again, I hear you.
This should be forbidden.
No, but I hear you, and I agree with you. But if they're in a black bag, and they look like a garbage bag, and it's garbage bag
No,
looking...
they knew.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is a lot of folks, what they've done, and I've seen this myself, is they'll mix possibly some leaves with the garbage and they'll put it in garbage bags just to get rid of it. They do this sometimes.
There should be
Unfortunately,
fines for that.
I understand that, but if the garbage company was going around and they see a black bag that looks like a garbage bag, that seems to be full of garbage material, whether it be leaves from the top to the bottom, he has no way of knowing that unless he opens the bag.
Right.
Do we agree on that?
On my particular case, it was very clear on my property that the 11 large bags were full of leaves and nothing else. And by
Okay.
picking them up,
Yeah.
just by taking your hands on them and picking them up, you understand that they're not full of boxes and plastic and bottles and so on.
But he
They're full
doesn't-
of leaves.
I understand, Mr. Fletcher.
And
I understand, but he doesn't know that.
he does know that.
He does
And
not
in
know that,
fact,
Mr. Fletcher, because he would have to open the bag to check it. I know they're not weighing a lot. I put bags out too, and because they were wet on the weekend when I bagged them, the bags weigh a ton. But they're paper bags on the side of my driveway, and the company's going to come by tomorrow to get them. If that was in a black bag, let me finish, please. If that bag that I have on the side of my street is in black garbage bag, it weighs like garbage would. I'm not saying that's the case for you, and I can't explain what happened. Mr. Baudouin is here. He will make sure that we look into this with the company, but certainly, they will not open the bags and look at what's in the bag.
Your grandchildren and my grandchildren have 20 years before, according to, and I have this on good authority from people that are advisors to the United Nations,
Yes.
that we are ready for an imminent collapse. The leaves that go into a garbage site have 25 times the carbon potential of carbon dioxide. When they're put into a garbage site, and I think Mr. Baudouin would probably agree with me, in the absence of oxygen, they produce methane, not carbon dioxide.
But what I'm saying, Mr. Fletcher,
And-
Mr. Fletcher, I'm going to stop you.
and-
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you, please. I'm not a scientist, but I can tell you that if garbage is put in a black garbage bag, whatever it is, the material, on the side of the street or close to the street, anyone and everyone will think it's garbage. So what I recommend for you, we will bring that up with the company to make sure that if there are clear bags, for example, with leaves,
Yes.
if there are clear bags, because some people I've seen even use clear bags and they put their leaves and their grass cuttings and so on. If that is the case, we will make sure we'll follow up with the company. But certainly in a black bag, they're not going to open the bag. I'm telling you now.
We need a bylaw in this arrondissement that offers fines for any organic material that is put out to go into a dump site. It should be absolutely the rule, the law, with penalties imposed that people do not put things that could be composted out on the Monday evening.
Do you agree,
And
Mr. Fletcher?
I agree one thing,
Yeah.
that we have to be as vigilant as they are in Beaconsfield about the management of waste.
Do you agree, Mr. Fletcher, that in the last number of years, we've changed drastically in the way we compost and in our green collection and in our leaves that we pick up and all the uses that we have for compost and the education and the sensitizing education of our public, do you agree that we've made huge strides in that way?
I would agree that some strides have been made, but they are insufficient.
Well,
And there is absolutely no excuse now for not being vigilant, for having inspectors going out, giving first warning to people that are putting this stuff out. We need this. We need the vigilance of our police and our security people. We need city employees to be keeping their eyes open for this and making sure that every single citizen that disobeys a bylaw that you should produce.
but if you had a bag, can I just ask you this
Yes.
as we finish, please? If you had a garbage bag out with leaves on the front of your property,
Right?
would you not merit a ticket?
Not if I have a work in progress.
Sir, if you're not there at your house and my inspector goes by and sees your leaves in a black garbage bag in front of your home, do you not merit a ticket or a warning?
Not if they're on my property, far away from the curb.
Well, that doesn't make sense to me why they would walk on your property either, and I agree on you on that, sir. Thank you,
Well,
Mr. Fletcher.
you know, they did. My wife warned me too late that the garbage people were actually putting their feet onto private
Yeah,
property.
it doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense, and we'll follow
There's
up with
two
the
issues.
company.
There's two issues I'd like you to address, Mr. Bass. Number one is this whole question of a mismanagement of organic waste that is getting into the dumping cycle in a dumping site. And the second one is the question of me being able to carry out a project that ameliorates the situation in my neighborhood as well.
Yeah,
This should all be made very clear. I'm upset. I
I know
didn't
that.
sleep for 3 nights.
No, I know you're
after that
upset, Mr. Fletcher.
Over what transpired. And I went and followed the garbage man around, and I looked at those bags on the side, and they were one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other, and it was plain. The leaves were pouring out of the top. I went and checked some of the bags. They were leaves, not garbage. So please, Mr. Bass,
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher.
I do hope you'll take this seriously.
I do.
And I do hope that we will have some inspection for the use of pesticides, because that likewise, and fertilizers.
Thank you,
Re-
Mr. Fletcher.
yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Madame Palladini has taken note to that as well, and if we have to increase our... There, Mrs. Bond will give you a lot of leaves. Who's next? Can I have, est-ce que je peux avoir un proposeur appuyeur pour continuer pour une autre 15 minutes? Madame Talbot, Monsieur Gignac. Merci. Mr. Stitt.
Well, speaking of the environment, it wasn't planned like that, but my first question is, during the 3-day Rib Fest, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and also during the Boy George weekend, Boulevard Pierrefonds was closed between Richmond, obviously, and Rennie-Amard. Now, during these complete times, there were a minimum of 2 police cars, and sometimes actually 3 and 4 during certain periods of time. 3 and 4 police cars, 1 or more at each intersection. In other words, Richmond, 1 or more police cars. Rennie-Amard and Pierrefonds, 1 or more police cars. From morning to night, how many hours is that? There, with their engines running.
Okay.
With their engines running for all day, all night.
Okay.
Now,
So what's your question?
can you imagine the amount of CO2 pollution that's coming out of that? And the reason for this is because they wanted to have their red flashing cherry light going 24/7. To me, seeing this is an environmental disaster that the cars produced during all those days on our environment. I spoke with one of the police supervisors one day, Monsieur Tourangeau, and he replied, "There's nothing we can do."
What was his reason, Mr. Stitt?
He didn't give one.
You didn't ask him?
I said, "Why do you have to keep your lights flashing?" He says, "We do."
Can I just intervene on that point, if I could?
Yes, sure.
The commander was here. I wish we would have asked that question, but I plan to ask that question, okay? What I suspect is that the cars have to be idling in case they have to be dispatched on an emergency, and if they turn them off, they may not start. I'm not sure. But that's what I'm guessing.
Well,
That's what I'm guessing.
the
But
reason...
I will find out.
Yeah, right. Well, the reason is, yeah, they're worried about draining their battery, not necessarily to go somewhere else, but to,
I'm not
to
sure,
keep the
but I will
red
find
cherry
out.
light going.
I will find out.
So...
What's your second question?
To me, well, no, it's still the first question, but there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. You know, we're not in 1800, we're in 2018.
Well, Mr. Stitt, I told you.
Technologically,
I will
there's got to
address
be
it.
a better way.
Mr. Stitt, I will address it.
Okay, but if they want to keep that cherry light going, I don't know why they need the cherry light since the street is closed and nobody, well, maybe at night, but not in the
I
daytime.
have no idea, Mr. Stitt, but I will definitely ask that, and I will get that
Will this
information.
council do something to avoid polluting the citizens and the planet in the future in regard to these activities?
Well, what I will do is I will verify with the police, first of all, if there is another option for them idling their vehicles at these intersections for all these extended periods. I will verify that. And if I get an answer that they are not able to, for whatever reason they give me, then I have to be respectful of that. But we will make all efforts to try to have an alternative and not have cars idling at these corners. They are beyond my jurisdiction, as you know, Mr. Stitt. The commander that was here, you could have asked him that question. You didn't. I will make sure I will ask that question on your behalf. And next time I see you, I will have that answer for you.
Thank you. Second question. At the August 6th council meeting, Mr. Gignac, who was presiding, gave many misleading and erroneous statements regarding the library and myself. He stated that the 18 million budget was for a rebuild, but now for the same amount we could get a new library. Not true and not true. And he also said that my questions are always tainted because I was a candidate for Projet Montréal. Tell the people, he said. Well, my question is, will Mr. Gignac resign because he is in a conflict of interest position? Will he tell the people that his full-time job is to work for the city of Mount Royal to develop the 1540 mega mall, and that meanwhile, as a part-time Pierrefonds councillor, he meets with developers regarding the Cap Saint-Jacques project behind closed doors
Stitt,
with
I'm gonna
no
stop you.
minutes
I'm gonna stop you.
taken to attempt to develop
I'm gonna stop you.
Lorme. Tell the people. Tell the people. That's
First of all, in
that's
most
my
of your
question.
questions
That's
is-
my question.
The answer is no. Madame Corbeil. Thank you, Mr. Stitt.
No?
No.
He's not in a conflict of interest
Nope.
position?
No. Go ahead, Mr. Gignac.
I've been retired from TMR. More than,
Just pull it close to you.
Mr. Stitt, have been retired from TMR. Might be news for you. A good year ago, before the last election. Second, I don't even know who are the developers, never met them. So I don't know where you're taking this information. In fact, it's more of an accusation, and I intend, if you don't pull or apologize right now, to do something about this. So I'm giving you a chance.
You can.
I'm giving you one chance, sir, and I promise you, because that's what politicians do, that I will take this matter further. So I'm giving you a chance.
I'm not taking anything back because
Thank
you
you.
were working for developers,
I don't
the
work
town of Mount Royal,
Stitt.
building a mega mall.
Mr. Stitt.
And you were meeting with developers.
Mr. Stitt, you clearly stated that Mr. Gignac was meeting with developers for Pierrefonds West behind closed doors.
He admitted it at the August council meeting, yes, with all other members of the council, not just by himself.
Well, I'm not aware of that conversation, but you asked me a question.
Misunderstood.
He
Well,
mentioned
if
Mr.
you- if
Gignac
you,
that he,
Never
Mr. Stitt,
Check the
Mr. Stitt,
website, check the website,
Mr.
check
Stitt,
the web
you asked a
stream,
question. You
and
asked
you'll
a
see it.
question whether Mr. Gignac was in a conflict of interest.
No, I asked the question whether he'll resign because he was in a conflict of
no,
interest.
no. Madame Corbeil.
Everybody was at the meeting, Mr. Mayor,
Madame
when we
Corbeil.
met the
C'est beau,
developer.
Mr. Gignac. Madame Corbeil. Next question, please.
Madame Elena Benavides.
Bonsoir, Madame Benavides.
Donc, parlant d'environnement, je voulais juste vous dire que chaque surface gazonnée que vous nous enlevez pour mettre du plastique vert, ben, on contribue au réchauffement climatique. La même chose qu'avec un arbre. Donc, je ne sais pas combien de kilomètres carrés que vous voulez nous mettre cette surface verte.
Merci,
Mais
Madame.
moi, chaque fois, je suis très malheureuse
Je
de voir
sais,
ça.
Madame Benavides, je sais très bien que vous êtes contre les gazons synthétiques. Je pense, pas la dernière fois, mais il y a quelques reprises que j'ai dit les bénéfices d'avoir les terrains synthétiques. Et ce n'est pas juste moi qui le dis, c'est les associations aussi, soccer, football, baseball et les autres, rugby, ultimate frisbee et autres, qui disent que c'est beaucoup mieux d'avoir ces terrains synthétiques que d'avoir le gazon naturel. Nous, parce qu'au niveau de l'utilisation, on peut prolonger l'utilisation par minimum 2 mois par année. Ça veut dire que vous pouvez imaginer le nombre d'heures d'utilisation qu'on peut avoir sur les terrains synthétiques. Ceci étant dit, à Pierrefonds-Roxboro, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? À chaque fois qu'on est en train de construire un terrain synthétique, comme on fait d'ailleurs, soit à Greer, soit à PCHS, et les autres qui vont venir, j'imagine, dans les années à venir, on fait un effort pour planter autour de ces terrains des arbres et d'autres végétations pour, pas compenser, mais pour avoir un peu de verdure autour de ces parcs-là. Parce qu'on sait, à un certain point, ça cause un peu de chaleur à ces endroits-là. Ça, c'est connu. Et on sait très bien, parce que je joue au soccer de temps en temps aussi, je sais c'est quoi un terrain synthétique comparé à un terrain naturel. Je vais vous dire aussi au niveau de coût. Je ne veux pas rentrer là-dedans vraiment en détail. Quand on joue sur un terrain naturel, disons maintenant à l'automne, puis on laisse les jeunes puis le public jouer sur un terrain naturel, la réparation pour ce terrain naturel peut coûter aux payeurs de taxes jusqu'à 200 000 $ de réparation par année. D'ailleurs, un terrain synthétique nous coûte pour le tapis, pas pour l'infrastructure, parce que ça, c'est one time. Mais le tapis nous coûte à peu près 1 million de dollars. Mais ce million de dollars va durer 10 ans minimum, même avec l'utilisation 4 fois plus qu'un terrain naturel. Au niveau économique, c'est beaucoup plus économique pour des villes en général de mettre les terrains synthétiques, en plus les heures d'utilisation. Mais je partage avec vous, Mme Benavides, on ne peut pas comparer un terrain synthétique à un terrain naturel. Je suis d'accord avec vous.
Bon, mais maintenant, quand on parle de surface verte à Montréal, les pieds carrés, kilomètres carrés, mètres carrés, pieds carrés, disons, ces surfaces en plastique, il faut les enlever des surfaces vertes de Montréal parce que quand on veut atteindre 17%, ben ça, il faut l'enlever parce que ce n'est pas vrai que c'est un espace vert. C'est un parc, mais un parc qui n'est plus
Effectivement.
vert.
Mais comme
Donc,
je disais...
parce que j'ai très peur aussi, Pierrefonds-Parc, un de ces jours, ça va devenir aussi plastifié. Alors je me dis, c'est plus des espaces verts, donc il faut enlever tous ces espaces-là, ne pas tricher en disant 10% de l'île de Montréal, cet espace vert, parce que, pas seulement ici à Pierrefonds, un peu partout, c'est ça qui est en train de se passer. Alors, je pense que souvent, quand on triche très facilement quand on utilise la surface verte sur la ville de Montréal, avec ce petit
Je ne sais pas
histoire.
si, effectivement, je ne sais pas, Mme Benavides, honnêtement, si les terrains synthétiques sont inclus dans ce pourcentage. Je peux vous dire, pour nous, avec le deuxième sur PCHS, on va avoir 3 terrains synthétiques comparés au naturel. On a à peu près une trentaine de terrains de soccer. On a 3 terrains synthétiques. C'est pas beaucoup. Et en plus, comme j'ai mentionné, on a planté cette année seulement 500 arbres. Je ne sais pas, je ne peux pas parler pour les autres villes et arrondissements, mais quand même, pour l'arrondissement, c'est bien. Et depuis des années, depuis notre arrivée comme administration, comme j'ai dit, avec l'ajout de M. Baudouin et les autres autour de la table ici, on a fait des efforts pour planter, je ne sais pas combien d'arbres, mais je vais vous présenter ça au prochain conseil. Pour vous dire, depuis notre arrivée, il y a 5 ans, c'est 1 an aujourd'hui, 2e mandat comme maire, depuis 5 ans, combien d'arbres on a plantés à l'arrondissement, en plus les arbres plantés par les résidents avec l'écoquartier. D'accord? Je vais vous dire. Puis le pourcentage, je vais soulever la question à Montréal aussi pour savoir si les terrains synthétiques sont inclus dans le pourcentage que tout le monde parle au niveau de
L'espace vert.
verdure. Effectivement.
Bon, il y en a une autre question différente. Airbnb. Je pense qu'il y a une nouvelle réglementation que je ne connais pas du tout. Alors, je me demande si dans les Vivre à Pierrefonds, vous allez expliquer parce que, vous savez, ces règlements qui changent, nous, on n'est pas tout le temps sur les sites web pour savoir si vous savez changer un règlement ou un autre. On n'y va pas. Alors, si vous ne les publiez pas dans Vivre à Pierrefonds ou ailleurs, la plupart des citoyens, ce n'est pas qu'ils ne veulent pas suivre vos règlements, c'est qu'ils ne sont pas du tout au courant de ce qui se passe.
C'est noté, Mme Benavidez, et
D'accord.
je suis d'accord avec vous, mais je vais vous dire une autre chose. Le revue municipal, malgré les efforts qu'on fait pour publiciser l'information nécessaire, encore là, on met les tempos, on met toutes sortes d'informations.
Oui, oui,
Quand on a un changement comme le Airbnb,
Oui.
parce que ça va passer, puis ça va être applicable partout dans l'arrondissement, sauf un petit zone qu'on avait nommé la dernière fois. C'est sûr que le revue municipal, c'est un outil, mais ce n'est pas ça que les gens cherchent nécessairement. C'est pour ça qu'on a fait l'analyse. Et même les revues municipales, malheureusement, sont laissées à côté des portes, puis les gens, ils les mettent dans les boîtes bleues tout de suite. C'est un outil. C'est une partie de communication qu'on fait. On fait ça sur le site Web. On fait les annonces quand les gens s'abonnent à la ville pour recevoir l'information. Mais pour quelque chose comme le Airbnb, je pense que c'est assez important pour l'annoncer dans le revue municipale. Je suis totalement d'accord avec vous, madame.
Remarquez que je ne suis pas d'accord avec ces changements que vous avez faits. Parce
Vous
que
n'êtes pas d'accord?
Non, puisqu'il y a une maison où il y a eu des problèmes. On est
Oui.
68 000 citoyens à Pierrefonds. Il y a une maison où il y a eu un problème. Et à cause de cette maison, tout le monde paye.
Non. Vous savez, madame, que plusieurs villes, ils le font parce que c'est un problème partout sur l'île de Montréal et dans d'autres villes canadiennes. C'est une problématique parce que même le cas qu'on parle, on avait plus qu'un problème, mais le cas spécifique, vous ne pouvez même pas imaginer, Mme Benavidez, les photos que j'ai eues d'une résidente qui demeure en face, presque en face. Les photos d'un événement, une fin de semaine, avec les jeunes, vous ne pouvez même pas imaginer que la police était appelée, les pompiers étaient appelés, puis le propriétaire, qui demeure même pas ici, demeure à Ontario, savait même pas, il dit qu'il ne savait pas, que sa maison était louée pour être utilisée à ses fins. Je vous dis, si c'était à côté de vous, Mme Benavidez,
Je ne serais pas contente.
effectivement. Et là, on a pris des mesures nécessaires, mais par contre, on avait dit à des gens dans la salle cette journée-là, on a dit, si vous pensez que vous opérez d'autres choses, disons quelqu'un que je connaissais avant qui louait son sous-sol à des étudiants, parfait, venez nous voir, rencontrer Mme Castonguay et l'équipe, on verra à ce moment-là qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire pour aider ces citoyens-là. Les citoyens légitimes qui font quelque chose parce que c'est nécessaire. On est ouvert.
Et les bed and breakfast, qui est tout à fait différent, puisque bed and breakfast, les propriétaires sont là.
Effectivement.
Donc,
Effectivement.
ça, c'est
Et
permis?
dans ces cas, on n'a pas de problème.
D'accord.
C'est les Airbnb, les maisons transformées en petits motels, si vous voulez. Je ne peux pas utiliser d'autres mots parce que je ne connais pas d'autres mots à utiliser à ce moment-là. Mais c'est des petits motels où une vingtaine de jeunes font des parties toute la fin de semaine.
Oui, oui,
Puis les dégâts au voisinage que ça cause,
Oui, je sais.
vous ne pouvez même pas imaginer, Mme Benavidez. Et là, on a passé, regardez, on a passé ça pour protéger la communauté. On a eu une demande de registre, que le registre coûte de l'argent pour mettre en place, pour élargir le zone, pour inclure les Airbnb. Et vous savez quoi? Tout l'argent qu'on a dépensé pour mettre ça en place, Mme Benavidez, vous savez quoi? Pas une personne, même pas les personnes qui ont demandé le registre sont venues pour signer le registre.
Je pense que les gens n'osent pas, des fois,
Madame Benavidez.
mettre leur signature, je ne sais pas.
Je comprends. Et c'est bien noté, qu'est-ce que vous dites, mais on a fait ça comme responsable d'une communauté, puis on voulait vraiment sécuriser les lieux. Et si on a des exceptions à faire, avec plaisir, les services sont là pour aider les gens.
D'accord.
Effectivement.
Ça, il faut que les gens le sachent aussi, qu'on
Oui.
peut demander des
Oui,
exceptions.
oui. En temps normal, les gens qui opèrent des places légitimes, tout est beau. Tout est beau. C'est les gens où on a des problématiques qu'on avait les dernières années et surtout cette année qu'il fallait faire quelque chose parce qu'il y avait d'autres villes, dans d'autres secteurs à Montréal qui faisaient la même chose. Vous pouvez imaginer que Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie a essayé de faire la même chose aussi. Imaginez Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie qui est centre-ville. Ça, c'est plus touristique que d'autres choses.
Oui.
Mais là, eux aussi, ils ont vu des problèmes. Là, pas juste eux, mais d'autres aussi qui ont suivi ça pour au moins contrôler l'Airbnb à des endroits spécifiques. Effectivement.
Bon,
Merci, Mme Benavides.
OK. Si vous, ça, c'est pas permis à Airbnb, tout le monde comprend ça, mais si c'est permis les bed and breakfast, est-ce que les gens doivent le savoir aussi, ce qui est permis?
Mais nous, on ne fait pas de publicité pour ces places-là.
D'accord.
C'est sûr. Écoutez, nous, on répond à des plaintes spécifiques. Et là, si on n'est pas capable de gérer la situation à ce moment-là, il faut vérifier avec les règlements que nous avons pour changer les règlements pour répondre à un problème dans la communauté. Et c'est ça qu'on a fait. Comme j'ai dit, les bed and breakfast, les gens qui ont, je ne sais pas si on a des gens avec les bed and breakfast à Pierrefonds-Roxboro. J'imagine que ça prend des permis spécifiques pour faire ça. Si les gens ont fait ça depuis des années sans demander l'autorisation de la ville, comment vous pensez que je peux savoir?
Ah, je ne sais pas, écoutez, je ne sais pas. Je sais parce que des fois, on reçoit la famille et on ne peut pas loger tout le monde chez nous et on cherche près de chez nous un bed and breakfast pour qu'il aille dormir. Donc, c'est pour ça que je veux dire que si on nous enlève tellement de liberté qu'à la fin, on ne se sent pas chez nous, c'est ça.
Vous êtes sécurisé, Mme Benavides, dans notre communauté. On prend les mesures nécessaires pour avoir la paix. La paix. Et sur cette rue où on a le problème majeur, on a d'autres, mais sur cette rue, maintenant, les gens vont avoir la paix parce que c'est incroyable qu'est-ce qui se passe à cet endroit-là.
Oui, je peux le voir très clairement.
Merci, Mme Benavides.